Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's seminar, webinar, 30-minute short, sharp tip, 6 non-verbal habits to avoid as a speaker. And one of the things that we need to be aware of is that if our message and our non-verbals are not congruent, if they don't match, then there'll be a mismatch in communication. And to have non-verbal communications that detract or dilute the words coming out of our mouth, we wouldn't want that to happen. So this short seminar is just some of the things that I see on TV a lot, face to face, and you will have been watching a lot of our politicians, a lot of our chief health officers and our health ministers speaking about COVID-19. See if you can spot some of these non-verbal communication things I would avoid. So Peter Dew's my name. I'm a public speaking trainer and coach, and I love to help you be more effective, more confident, more influential every time you get before a group of people. Please ask questions as we go, take notes, participate, add your comments. I'll keep the chat box open and I can comment on your remarks, your questions as we go. But more importantly, think and apply this to your own individual circumstances. So look at your own style, ask feedback from people who watch you speak, and how you're going to apply the learning from today into your own personal speaking style, your own presentation, your own presence. And my aim is that each seminar, each webinar, that each of you takes away maybe one thing that you can incorporate into your public speaking style that will make you more effective. Agenda. 6 things. Avoid the bouncy hand gestures, pointing accusingly, and too many filler words. The passive or aggressive stances that we see, especially around meetings, around facilitations, and you as a speaker or presenter should avoid exhibiting both aggressive and passive stances. The background noises that distract, the nodding, the other distracting issues that I will expand on, and the lack of eye contact, the wandering eye contact, the talking to the roof eye contact, the talking to the side of the room eye contact. These are some of the non-verbal faux pas that I think as a presenter, a speaker, a facilitator, even a participant at a meeting that you should avoid. Welcome, Alexandra. So let's get started. Bouncy hands. This is one of the things that I find very distracting. And Malcolm Turnbull in the bottom picture had the habit of bouncing his hands up and down in time with the words that he was saying, as if conducting an orchestra. Now, after a while, this becomes really distracting. Let's say we don't have the bounce. Let's say we have another gesture. So welcome, thanks for coming to this webinar. It's a real pleasure to be here. Now, what I want to share with you is 6 ideas that I think will help you reduce your noise, your inability to communicate non-verbally. You may now notice that while it was a welcoming gesture, as I keep talking, it's becoming a bounce or a repetitive gesture that no longer is in line, no longer is congruent with the words coming out of my mouth. That becomes distraction. What I'm going to share with you now is an example. So just let me optimize my screen for video and for audio. And some of you may have seen this if you've attended my workshops. Peter Gertwin, Premier of Tasmania.
Now, what that will mean is that there will be further levers available to us to make the decisions we need in a swift and calm way. This will include increased powers and sanctions which support measures including quarantining and mass gatherings. It includes the power for the Director of Public Health to make decisions to manage an imminent threat to Tasmanians. He could direct people to be quarantined or isolated or evacuated from an area. It permits the power to direct or permit people from accessing an area and the control and movement of vehicles.
Alrighty. So as you can see, after a while, his open and close gesture it doesn't mean anything. It's just a bounce or a thank you for coming in another format. So this is the bouncy or the noisy hand gestures that don't mean anything. Be aware of what your gestures are saying about you. Get some feedback. Feel free to watch yourself in a video. Feel free to practice in a mirror if you want to grow your gestures and add a little bit of layering to your nonverbal communication. And yes, hand a colleague your mobile phone and get them to record 2 or 3 minutes of your presentation, focusing on your hands, your gestures, and get an idea of what your hands are doing. So what's the right way to gesture? The smart way to gesture is to only move your hands as you're speaking. So if you look at the top table, the normal way of speaking, so let's remove gestures, is I say something and I pause. I say a few more words and then I pause. The pause is good, it allows me to breathe, allows me to gather my thoughts. It also allows me to punctuate, so those full stops, the commas that you would see in written speech. So that's a normal pattern for speaking. The reverse of that is the incessant talker that just keeps on talking and talking and talking and takes no breath at all and just keeps talking more and more and more and more. And of course, after a while, you wonder, is this person going to breathe? Now, let's layer the gesture over this. So as I talk, I'm going to make a gesture. And when I pause, that is when I stop talking, the gesture freezes. Does that make sense? Let me do what noisy gestures do. People, they talk and then they gesture into the pause. So thanks everyone for coming. Today I want to talk about 3 things that I can share with you. Oh, and also 2 ideas that I want you to avoid. So this is called the frozen hand gesture. You make a gesture as you're talking, but as you pause, you make sure that the hands stay still. The hands stay still during the pause. Now, you don't have to gesture all the time. You can have your resting position, and my normal resting position is around my midriff, around my belly button. Not a fig leaf. We'll talk about the fig leaf later on. But now I've just raised my hands a little bit to be in camera view. So this is a resting position. I don't have to gesture all the time, but you know, gestures add to what you're saying. But every now and then you just want to rest your hands and focus on your content. But make sure that when you do gesture, that gesture only occurs while you're talking. All right. Don't use too many gestures. Don't have noisy, bouncy gestures. Pointing, your fault, you did it. Research from Harvard Business Review has shown around the world, female audiences in particular are sick and tired of male speakers, male trainers, male keynote speakers pointing at audiences. It is aggressive, it's seen as disrespectful, and don't do it. And the classic pointer of the day is Donald Trump, who points down the barrel and accusingly points his fingers at people. Now, if I want to indicate, what do you think? I'm going to do a palm. So what do you think? I'd value your contribution. Can anyone else add something as opposed to, what do you think? Can anyone else add something? So please avoid pointing. The directional gesture, should you need to point to someone, is yes, yes, Alexandra. Yes, yes, Anita. Yes, Julie. Yes, Bill. And depending where they're sitting. And it's kind of a milking, it's a welcome. Yes, what would you like to contribute? I'd love your comments. Are you a pointer? Are you a pointer when you get on stage, when you're at a meeting? I'm sure you've all seen a pointer. How does it feel when someone points at you? I don't think it's necessary anymore, and I think we can avoid the need to point. It's accusing, it's belittling, and as you can see in this particular person here, he's feeling a little bit small, a little bit worried. So the palms up, the palms up, and a soft gesture towards the audience does the same thing. Using too many filler words. This is a common trait in people that are possibly a little bit nervous, that possibly are not as well prepared, that are perhaps not good at thinking off the cuff. And I do run a workshop on thinking and speaking off the cuff. And both with your prepared presentation, dealing with Q&A, so you put on the spot, you're on the spot. So now everyone's looking at you. The antidote is to use your pause. There are other filler words, worse than ums and ahs, you know what we need here, like I think, like I'm not really sure like that's the right way to go, like. I've seen some politicians use big words as filler words. And when you actually think about some of the words that we actually say, actually some of them don't mean a lot. And actually, if I was to actually remove the word actually, I'd sound more intelligent actually than using actually. So what are we actually going to do about that? Thank you all for coming this morning. Obviously, we have a problem, and what I need is some ideas that are going to obviously help us move forward. And obviously, I want everyone to contribute, and we'll increase our chances of obviously finding a solution to this problem, obviously. Just a little clip to share with you.
Let me begin this way.
It was a few years ago, after, I felt, my job was to reach out to, everyday New Yorkers, and really, I really ought to give it some thought. That my life, as a mother, while I was thinking about it, just sort of, in my own head, and saying, why don't you be senator? You'd be great. Go for it. We're rooting for you. On the subway this morning, people were, coming up. So, so I thought, well, I also do that because, you know, this is my home. I think, you know,
You know, Caroline Kennedy was put forward as a really good candidate for the Senate seat of New York, vacated by Hillary Clinton. Now, that is an edited clip, but if you go to YouTube, they talk about, you know Kennedy? Yeah, you know. Caroline, you know Kennedy? You know, the daughter of, you know, JFK, you know? That is edited, but it was 52 you-knows in a 5-minute video clip. Live TV, as a result of that, she never proceeded with her nomination for Senator of the state of New York. Better to be silent. It does the same thing as the or the are. It buys you that 2 or 3 seconds to gather your thoughts, to maybe transition or segue to another part of your presentation. And the pause sounds intelligent. The pause sounds credible. The and ah, a little bit uncertain. All right, need to move on quickly. Thanks for that, the comment, Alexandri. Passive or aggressive stances. As a speaker, I would avoid the passive stance. So the fig leaf on the left of the screen. So this is what we call the fig leaf. And notice the leg crossover, which I see more in women than in men. It's about looking small. If you can drop your shoulders a little bit and do the fig leaf, you'll almost be invisible. So the fig leaf is kind of stating that I don't want to be here. Can you get me out of here, please? It's a little bit sign of nerves. If you want to find out a little bit about the importance of your stance, I would go to a TED Talk. And I'm sure that all of you have do watch TED Talks. And then just look at the TED Talk by Amy Cuddy. And she talks about the power of your nonverbal communication and about faking it until you become it, faking it until you make it. So how would you coach someone to walk on stage? How would you coach someone to stand before a presentation? And it would be upright, it would be confident. So hands around your midriff, around your belly button, as I mentioned. I do a little bit of work in the mining sector up north, Port Hedland, Karratha, Newman, and hands on shoulders, hands on hips like this, and then take a wide stance. So your feet are actually wider than your shoulders, is seen as quite aggressive. So avoid passive, avoid aggressive. The other aggressive one is the hands behind your back, up parallel, and then you pace across the floor. The nickname for that is, of course, the Sergeant Major. You know, doing an inspection of the troops, checking that your shoes are polished, your uniform's all correct, and you walk across the stage with your hands behind your back with a deliberate closed stance is seen as a little bit aggressive. And this particular stance here is seen as a little bit closed, maybe a little bit aggressive as well. Now, please understand, I'm referring to this when you are on stage, when you are leading the meeting. I'm not talking about when you see an audience member. I'm going to sit back and be your audience member for a moment while you speak to me. This doesn't mean I'm closed to your ideas. This is just very comfortable. This is a comfortable way of resting your arms. It may be seen as closed. As a leader, as someone presenting, and when you're presenting, you are stepping into a leadership role. So I would avoid that if I'm leading or running a meeting. Number 5, staff in the background nodding and other distracting visual noise. So we've all seen politicians and they're speaking. I saw one last night here in WA, and off to the side is these little noddies. Yep. Nodding back and forth. Oh, no, 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 shaking the head from side to side. No, 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 no. Yes, 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 yes. No, no. It is really, really distracting. Who of you, when someone's speaking or presenting, will get distracted when a mobile phone rings and you start to hear the ring of a phone? Who causes that? Yeah, that's impolite. Sarah, yep, thank you. Thanks for that, Alexandria. Yeah, it's distracting. Please understand the noddies or the nodding heads is the mobile phone ringing for the visual learners. The visual learners, I'm a visual learner, and I don't hear all that well either, so I often have to read people's lips. The mobile phone pinging or going off, I probably won't even notice, and if I do notice, it doesn't distract my attention. The person then answering and typing back, that will distract me, and I'll think that is disrespectful. The noddies do distract me. And of course, there are the pen clickers. Not sure if you can hear that or not. And while we're not clicking, let's do some gymnastics. You know, I used to play the drums, so I can do a twirl. Oh, look at that. I'm looking at you down the camera and I'm still in my peripheral vision. I can juggle a pen. I won't try with a second pen. Playing with glasses. Oh, yes, I do need glasses. But only to read. So when I'm presenting, I don't need my glasses. And we see the person who twiddles the glasses or in the mining sector balances them on their head, their safety glasses, puts them on, takes them off, puts them on, takes them off. It's just a little bit distracting. Jewelry, the ring twiddle, you know, it's almost like they're almost sawing off their finger. Bangles, playing with them. I don't have a necklace, but people who play with necklace, and more so female than males, playing with their jewelry, their earrings. This is background noise, visual background noise that is distracting. And rearranging your notes. Now, if you do need notes, and I present without notes, there's no need to do origami or move it around from side to side and, you know, flap it around. If you do need notes, and maybe you've got some cheat sheets, you read it, then you put it down. You move on with that content, with that bullet point, and if you need yourself to be reminded, you can pick up that again, move down to the next point, and then just put it down again. Just a quick segue, and I'm aware of the time. If you do use notes, and these aren't my notes, these are just handwritten scribble. If you do notes, type in 14-point font, 1.5 spacing, and all capitals. If I was writing a speech for the Minister for Health or for the Minister for Disability Services, I would use big font, 1.5 spacing, all caps, and I would underline those words I wanted to be emphasized. Yeah, so I've just had a comment about safety glasses, and they are important. And look, when I go on site, I wear my safety glasses, my PPE, my steel cap boots, but most people, including myself, am able to put my safety glasses into my belt, or there's those beautiful clips where you clip your gloves and you can just slip your safety glasses in so they're on you. But when you're inside presenting, leading a pre-starter safety meeting, you don't need them on your head. You go outside, you put them on straight away. You can just sort of take them off. Yeah, and the other one is, yeah, they put these safety glasses under. Thank you for that, yes. I do that when I'm outside in the sun and I need to read my phone. I will drop my sunglasses under my chin and then I can now see my phone. There's a bit of glare, of course, and then I push them back on. Don't do that when you're presenting. And the last one is the wandering eyes. My personal philosophy when I'm the lead person, the speaker, the trainer, the coach, the facilitator, is that my lips do not move unless I'm looking at people in the room. This means I don't talk to the roof, I don't talk to the wall, I don't look out the window at what's happening. I speak to individuals and I'll pick out one person in the room. So I'll look at that person there and I'll talk to them for 2 or 3 seconds. Then I'll talk to a person down the back, speak to them for 2 or 3 seconds, someone to the other side. And that way I'll gradually engage everyone with real eye contact. Not wandering eyes, not token eye contact, not lighthouse, da-dump, 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 your turn, da-dump, your turn, and then go back, your turn, your turn. That is systematic, artificial eye contact. I'd rather do more random, real conversation eye contact. It's how we read the room. It's how we build trust and connect between you and I. If I don't make eye contact with you, you will not trust me as much. It's just one of those features of eye contact. One comment I need to make, eye contact varies from culture to culture. And in terms of working with Aboriginal people and sometimes some of the Indian people, they're not as keen and eye contact is not culturally appropriate. Just be aware of that. Generally, eye contact, really important. Don't have wandering eyes. So, call to action today. Be more aware of your nonverbal communications. Is it white anting? Is it reducing your ability to have impact? Seek feedback from people who can give you comments. I've just taken a phone call from someone who wants coaching. They have some aggressive staff people who don't know they're aggressive. That's lack of awareness, self-awareness. Seek feedback and then change accordingly. Just coming up, upcoming workshops. This is the soft sell, Perth, assertiveness, winning presentation skills. Bunbury, we're back in Bunbury, 27th of October. My wife and Kyla are running another Women in Leadership Masterclass. This is the 2-day masterclass of a 10-week program in Port Hedland, 9th and 10th of November. Overcoming your fear in Perth. And we've been running some online workshops for Mildura last week and this week. If you ever want anything delivered online, one of these workshops, I can deliver it online. I won't do a 1-day workshop online. I'll do maybe 3 2-hour sessions across 3 days, but everything is possible. Next upcoming webinar, how do you end your presentation? 6 ways to end your presentation. Don't do a soft landing would be, the takeaway from this webinar. If you're not going to do a soft landing, how can I nail my ending? You know how to reach me. This webinar has been recorded. If you need to review anything, let me know and you will get the recording. So remember, avoid bouncy hands, that repetitive gestures. Don't point accusingly. Avoid your ums and ahs and filler words and actuallys and you knows. Is your stance when you walk into a job interview, when you walk onto a stage, when you start a pre-start, Is your nonverbal, your stance aggressive or passive, or is it credible and confident? Credible and confident is what you want. Avoid the noddies and the pen clicking and wandering eyes. So my challenge to you, find out what your nonverbals are saying about you when you step into a presentation leadership role. Anything you can adjust that'll just elevate your ability to engage, to influence, and to present confidently. Thanks, everyone.